7:09, I'm calling this meeting to order, of the Community Preservation Act. Our second meeting, I guess, of FY 27. I'm Tom Callahan. I am the chair of the CPC and representing the Affordable Housing Trust when we go around the room.
Jenny Russell, Vice Chair and Citizen at Large.
Pete Jackson, Fiscal Liaison at Large.
Rob Lee Ash, representing the Park Commission.
Camelia Jackson, Committee Clerk.
Al Munger, representing the Planning Board.
Steve O'Donnell, Historical Commission.
I'm Wendy Garpo, representing the Conservation Commission.
And Robbie?
Robert Powers, representing the Housing Authority.
Great.
Kathleen O'Donnell, at-large member.
All right, we are here and connected. So the first order of business is to welcome Cam Jackson, Camelia. We are so excited to have you. You don't know how excited.
Jenny,
we've been without staff for so long, but why don't you just introduce yourself fully? A few of us met with Cam on Friday just to give her a little orientation background into the committee and some of the things from a staff point of view that we're looking forward to maybe being able to accomplish now that we have some staff support. But Kim has she's very overqualified for this role. She has a very impressive resume. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure.
So
My name is Camelia Jackson. Everybody calls me Cam. I've lived in Milton for about 10 to 12, probably 11 years now, but I work for Brockton Public Schools. I work in the finance department there as the grant director. I'm in finance. I did extensive work in Brockton. I worked in operations and facilities for a while. I worked in equity, diversity, and inclusion for a while. Then I landed my role as grants administrator in Brockton. This year, my portfolio for the district was at $60 million. So I manage that budget in terms of administrating the budget, procuring the budget, and making sure all the money is spent down. So at the end of the year, my accomplishment is making sure all the funds were spent down. So they were all spent down this year, so that was great. But I'm happy to contribute my knowledge and expertise from public education and from municipal education. I got my master's in public administration at UMass Boston. I'm here and I'm ready to help and learn and contribute as best as I can. So yeah.
Yes,
very excited. Thank you for applying and going through the process. So we're still working out final details of getting her paid and getting her access to town hall and laptops and all that.
Carla did tell me that it should be on Friday.
Okay.
My email and access to the email.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Yep.
She confirmed that CPC at Milton.
Yeah, she did. She's gonna try to get IT to give me.
Is perfect. Great. So we're making serious progress, I should say. So yeah. So thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right. So the approval of the July 6th, 2026 minutes.
There's a copy there.
Just recently distributed. And
I move that we approve the minutes.
we have a motion to approve. And a second. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call the roll. Can we just have to, in a hybrid meeting, we have to do a roll call of every vote?
Thank you. No, thank you.
But Jen,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Rob,
Abstaining.
Hal,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Wendy,
and I abstain.
and Robbie,
Yes.
and Kathleen.
Yes.
All right, and Tom votes yes as well. So we have 7 yes, 2 abstentions. Thank you. All right, discussion of 2026 eligibility applications. There's not an S on the agenda, so it should be not one application, but 22 of them. I I just want to remind people, this is a discussion about eligibility, not about funding levels. Obviously, we're gonna have to deal with funding levels, but, I wonder if I can share my screen here, actually, because I brought up a list of all the applications, and I, for my purposes, wrote in what I thought was eligible and what I didn't think was eligible, but we can go through them and discuss them. I don't think seeing my recommendation is gonna bias anybody, because you usually vote against me anyways,
That's true.
yeah.
Would it make sense to discuss item
Yeah.
6? The application.
That's what I was wondering.
In advance of
So-
this.
In
It
terms of
seems
the
to me it
eligibility?
might make sense for us to consider
Yeah, so
those,
I know
those
that there was,
edits in this round.
yeah,
I agree, but just voting up or down on whether they're eligible or not doesn't mean that.
Okay, then
I'm-
we can, then after that,
then we
we
can
can
get
vote
down to six.
which category they go in. Of the 3 categories in this new application. For our responses.
I guess so.
Well, I think that's a discussion.
It is a
right?
discussion.
It's a discussion, I
Yeah.
think, that we need to have. And we could either do it now or later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think there's any harm in doing it in order, right? Or,
that.
No, yeah,
or, I
That's
mean, there's
fine.
probably no harm in taking it out of order either, so. I mean, but,
Okay. We can just.
I just want to move it along.
Sure, let's go through.
And I think this could be quick.
is it most things eligible?
Yeah, that's why, so.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that let's stick with the order of the agenda and go forward. I want to just
Are we
share,
gonna use this?
share my screen.
This one?
Yes, yeah.
Can we move, can I suggest that we move 6 to 5?
Sure,
And 5 last?
Yeah, yeah.
Can we do that?
yep,
Yeah.
that makes sense, that makes
Thank
sense.
you.
Okay,
When do people get the agenda, by the way? When are
It's
we
posted.
we don't get emails?
we haven't had a
We
staff.
might
report.
They might not. Might not.
That's my fault.
No, thank you.
I always go and download it.
Okay.
on the site.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah, I make our committee members.
So Cam, we would
work.
love the agenda.
I got you.
Or-
Make a note.
I would love the agenda.
Well, we must have it.
All right, so tonight's just for, because Hal's new, never been through this process before, so tonight's vote is really, is the eligibility application eligible for CPA funds? We're not making a judgment on whether they're gonna receive funds. What we think about the project, it's just up or down vote, basically, they're eligible or they're not eligible. And so I just wanna sort of, lay that out for Hal's purposes, but also just reminding all of us as well. So this is the list of the 22 original applications. I've got some notes in there, but so if without objection, we can just take them in order. I do think, as Rob just suggested, most of these are pretty easy and pretty straightforward that they're eligible, but that column is just, as I said before, my thoughts on this, so, but you can ignore that or not. Anyways, so,
Can you make it full screen?
Yeah, it's a little hard.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Just the,
yep,
at least the Zoom. Getting old, I can't see well.
Smack him, Steven.
No,
Smack him.
the overall Zoom. You just make the Zoom itself.
You gotta do it up there. You gotta go click up there, the maximize.
Here?
No, right here.
Little square.
Square, not the X. There, beautiful, thank you.
beautiful,
Why they keep you around here?
Now we're getting too old.
Exactly.
Right, Steve?
You're right.
so without objection, we'll just go through this in order. Yay, no, nay, and then what I would propose is this, we would vote as a package. at the,
Yeah, so we don't
at
have
the
to
end,
go
so we don't
through
have to do
Yeah,
22 roll calls.
yeah.
I think I got
So
agreement.
we can just discuss
Agreement.
everyone,
So-
right?
So Tucker School Playground, I don't think there's any, it's an eligible project. We've already funded it, frankly. Not frankly, we have already funded it, so everybody in
Yeah.
agreement that that's. Right, yep.
Yeah.
Randolph South Playground, we funded other playgrounds.
Yes.
Obviously, that's a very tentative idea, but it's clearly eligible. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this and
Yeah.
Yeah.
if people
Yeah.
object, if I say something that you disagree with, or want to discuss. Milton Landing Boathouse Tent. Kathleen did raise some issues about the permanency of the tent, or maybe it was Pete, I can't remember. I think it's generally eligible, structures are eligible, but I think, anyways, do we want to discuss this one? Or do we think it's eligible?
I think it's questionable whether it's eligible, so maybe we need a discussion.
Let's discuss it.
Because it's impermanent, it's just a temporary structure that's up there.
But it's not a temporary structure. They're building it as a year-round permanent structure.
But it's a tent, so it's not, it's not hard building construction, it's temporary.
Right.
Does then the eligibility depend upon whether or not it's permanent?
That's the question.
So
That's
if
the
it would be
question.
eligible as permanent, is it eligible? And then,
Yeah.
Right.
Kathleen, do you have any opinion? You raised that last
Yeah.
meeting.
Before with that bandstand for East Milton Square, where it was sort of a temporary thing. It rolls out when you have a band there and it gets put away. And I don't think, and that we determined wasn't eligible. I don't think it is. And this,
So that's true.
this one is a little bit more permanent in that, it's not something you're rolling away and putting it away, every week or something. I mean,
Right.
so the fact that the sides of it are sort of, similar to the one that's already there. I think I said it's kind of on the fence. I'm kind of on the fence with this because of the temporariness of it, but it's going to be up for the whole year. I think it would probably pass.
All right, should call it eligible.
Yeah, I agree with Kathleen. I think I think both their plans for it, the year-round nature and their long-term lease. Were the things that convinced me, they don't just have a 1-year lease, they
It
have.
could always be taken down.
Yeah, but so
If
can
they
the
don't win a lease or something.
True.
theoretical, yeah.
Alright.
All right, so Brooksfield,
I'm like, if Kathleen says
She's
something.
the attorney.
He's the intern.
so Brooksfield LED lighting, again, we funded the Gala Road LED lighting, so that's clearly eligible.
Yes.
Mary C. Lane Safety and Field Improvements, and we've done plenty of fields, it's yes. Renovating Andrews Field, yes. Open Space Preservation Trust Fund, I know that there was different opinions about this one, but I think it's eligible, so, okay. Geofield, Phase 2.
Yes.
Yes. Pagoda Circle Restoration Project Phase 2, yes. The Houston Avenue Green Streets Bioswale, is withdrawn. Miller Ave Capital Improvements is withdrawn.
Hey, Tom, I don't think we withdrew that. As of our last meeting, I was told it wasn't withdrawn.
Well, you've been fully funded by the Affordable Housing Trust, so we're considering it withdrawn. Is that wrong?
Yeah, I'd consider that wrong. The application should stand, the eligibility question should stand.
It's
But
still
you've been funded.
eligible.
But you were fully funded.
Not necessarily. The project is over the 2.1 million as of today.
Okay. Okay, I mean, it's clearly eligible.
Yes.
Yeah, it's eligible.
So I just was assuming, because the Affordable Housing Trust fully funded the request, that it would not be a full application to us.
We could decide that real quick on the next one.
Yeah,
But it's eligible.
I mean, it is, right. So you would prefer, Robbie, to have this considered eligible and then
Yes.
at least
Just, yeah, just leave a door
It
open.
gives you the opportunity to submit a full, yep, understood, okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Winter Valley Solar Lighting, I wrote no here, I do not think this is
So
eligible.
are you gonna change it on there?
Yeah.
On the side, he's got no.
No,
No.
on that
Oh,
one,
on that
no,
one,
no,
yeah.
no.
We're gonna put you-
We'll just put it there.
Thank you, Rob. Winter Valley Solar Lighting, again, this might be a little, I mean, this for debate,
Why was that not eligible? I'm just.
I mean, they're applying for it under the housing category, and it's not really. The housing category is about adding new units, or in the case of Miller Ave, doing capital improvements that would save units from not being eventually occupied.
Saleable,
Occupiable. And the solar Ave is an enhancement, but it's not really an enhancement to the housing.
It could go either way, because it could be
Does it?
solar for Brookfield. Or the LED lighting.
Yeah.
Well, but I think the rules for the open space
It's
lighting
different.
is very different. Than
Like housing.
you're improving, it's a capital improvement to a playing field, which is eligible. So I don't know, we can't fund solar lighting all across town to just
Right,
average.
that makes sense.
Right.
So it's gotta come in under the housing, right? It's not open space.
Right.
It's gotta come in under housing, and I don't think it meets the housing
Yeah, I think
definition, but.
What is Kathleen? I'm just curious.
Yeah, Kathleen,
I don't think it works.
Okay.
I don't think it's eligible. I don't think it's, I mean, the property wasn't acquired with CPA funding. And so that seems to me more like a maintenance thing than a capital improvement so much. And then it's not doing anything for the housing.
Okay.
yeah,
I don't think that solar, I don't think there's solar, isn't that somewhere like a landscaping kind of thing? Not a
I think
housing.
it's street lighting.
Street light.
it's street lighting, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't
think
see how
you're
that
right.
works under housing.
Okay.
That makes
We
sense.
believe you.
Yeah, yeah.
We believe you. No.
Affordable housing, trust, application is clearly yes. Atherton Street Fire Station, clearly yes. Blue Hill Parkway Historic Markers. So I did, as I said I was gonna do, went back to Stuart Saganor of the Community Preservation Coalition and asked him this question specifically. And he pretty clearly, I have an email from him, said, no, that is not eligible. That just what I thought, that a new historic marker for an existing site, just it's not.
It's for a new, yeah.
Yeah, I mean renovating or restoring a historic marker, I mean, some of
Which
the.
is the last.
Yeah, well, it's a study to evaluate what was due, but yes, funding, an eligible project could come out of what Nick is proposing. But this one, is not,
So did it have anything to do with, it was state-owned land, doesn't matter?
no, we can fund.
You can fund state
So,
owned stuff, yeah.
So,
Of course, we funded those, because they were collecting that. We funded it, yeah, it wasn't historic.
historic preservation, again, it mattered the category.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Milton lockup, yes, we funded it before. Forbes House,
Yes.
plank house and shed, yes. Stabilization of the receiving tomb, yes. I really want to schedule that, walkthrough. Yes.
Can we do it on Halloween?
Right.
No, I prefer not to do it on Halloween. So the homestead landscape assessments, yes. Suffolk resolves house window restoration.
Yeah.
Yes. Restoration of Pine Grove and Winter Valley, yes. And monuments and historic markers restoration, it should be a study of the,
Yeah.
so that is yes, I believe too. So in total, we have one withdrawn, two no's, and that means 19 yeses. Any discussion, further discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve that.
The slate
As
as proposed,
Yeah.
as discussed.
So Jenny has made a motion. Do we hear a second?
Second.
We have all sorts of seconds. Dan, pick your second person. You got Wendy, Rob, and Steve.
Steve.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
So cute.
He got 3 more.
That's
Bye.
Age
All right.
before beauty.
That's right.
So let's call the roll on this and let's reverse order. Robbie,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes,
Wendy,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Hal,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Jenny,
Yes,
and Tom, yes, so unanimous votes.
We are down to
As
19.
proposed. All right. Okay, so we're gonna flip the order of 5 and 6. Right, we've done 3 and 4, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
So let's take, move 6 up to the next agenda item. And review and consideration of edits to the CPC project application. And I know Rob has done some.
Yeah.
A fair amount of work on this. Thank you, Rob. So do you want to,
I gotta share my screen something. Hold on one second.
are you logged into the meeting?
I am. Hold on.
Did I let you?
Do I raise my hand?
I need to make you the moderator. I'm not analyst,
And
which I can do easily.
Okay. Am I there? Yeah, there we go. Forward.
Promote the panelists, which you should accept.
Okay, join us, friends.
And I think then you can, do you see the share button?
Yeah,
You do. Okay, perfect.
I got a request, now you gotta.
Okay.
That work?
Yep.
Okay. Screen. So. I need to find it. Milton. CPA. Version 3, okay. I guess the first thing here, so we've been back and forth a little bit about the eligibility application. And we added a number of different, I don't know why is that not. Alright, so let's
the X to the participant, there you go.
Alright, so we've been back and forth a little bit, Jenny, Pete and myself, and we've done a review for the eligibility application. So the changes that we've added were at the top. And so I'll just read it. This application enables the CPC to review the request to ensure eligibility, offer guidance, and prioritize annual funding requests. And then it says you'll likely be asked to come before the committee to describe your project. The committee will then respond in writing to you with one of the following 3 categories. A is eligible, please submit a full funding application, which would, we just kind of went through that first piece. B would be not eligible with explanation, which clearly the 3 that we just went over would be the B. And then C is a new category, which we say we could decide this evening that it's eligible but deferred due to budget constraints. Please consider reapplying next year. So I think in the reason for this is kind of twofold. One is it prioritizes some of the applications because we know we have $6 million and a $1 million budget. So it kind of helps applicants understand that they don't have to go through a full funding application. So kind of at least then next year, I think as well, is that I think what we've allowed for ourselves in this is to say, listen, if they come before us next year, we have questions that we'll go through in a minute, but it would say, hey, you were eligible previously, but maybe it wasn't a priority this year. Maybe next year is easier and they could skip this step that they can go on to a funding, so they wouldn't have to present to the committee. So I think it does, one of 2 things. One thing it does that it helps us prioritize applications for this year. We don't have to go through 20 applications, whatever it is now, 19 applications this year. We could decide on a few potentially that could get put off to next year. So as we go down, I'll show, so the the application is pretty much the same thing.
Just on that topic,
Yeah.
you said may be able to skip that step next
Yeah.
year. Is that may or would be able to skip that step?
We say, please consider reapplying next year, so that to me means they have to start.
With eligibility, I would say recent.
So why,
Well, I think everybody would still have to resubmit for eligibility,
Yeah.
but I don't think that, like, let's say if that came before us and it was the same project, I don't know, why would they need to come and present to us?
Well, maybe not, but I would
Maybe
say
they
change that word to resubmit as opposed to reapply.
Yeah,
We may not wanna wordsmith this, but at this point, but
okay, I was just clarifying what
Yeah.
you intended.
Oh, if you don't resubmit at the eligibility phase, we don't know what's coming in later on.
that's right, that's right.
Well, you can resubmit without representing. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, so I think, I think everyone should still submit these applications, right?
Yeah.
So you're still reapplying, so I think reapplying is correct, reapply next year for both phases. However, I think, maybe Jenny, you wrote this, it was like, you may be asked to come before to present to the committee. If it's the same project, the exact same thing, then I don't know why we would have them come and represent to us to save some time.
unless they, unless they kind of change, modify the.
Modified
To
something,
bring
Right.
requests down, or they've done additional
Right.
fundraising so that they're, they're.
yeah.
Or we might have changed
Yeah,
our.
right. I mean, I think it allows the door open, whether we need to do it or not, right?
Yeah.
But I think,
Okay, that's good. Okay.
so. Then there was a number of questions that we put here. The following questions will give the committee background information to help assess your eligibility and past history with CPC funding. So a few questions was, has the organization applying for this round been previously funded? Yes or no? It's simple that you can either check what, you can go on this thing, click yes or no. And then if yes, for what, how much is it completed? So I think another important piece as we kind of go through these years is we funded things in the past. And if they've been funded, completed, if you've been funded and then you've also haven't completed your whole project, we should know about that. The number 2 question, has the project you are applying for been previously funded? Yes or no? It's this specific project. If yes, how much and is it completed? Because the first one was more about your organization. Your organization might have been funded, but it might have been a different project. So I think that's also important information for us to know, because if the same organization is now taking all the CPC funding, right? Like going through, then it's also just a good information for us to understand. And then the third one was this project previously deemed eligible but not funded, which I think is important. It kind of leaves us in here, if it's yes, and it's gone through a few rounds, right? Then it's good to know that. So, hey, we've applied a few times that, and if yes, why? Let's just say, theoretically, one of these projects, we say, hey, no, not this year. But maybe next year when funding's better, we could put it on there, right? Maybe it's not a priority this year. And then lastly, is the project time sensitive? I know we have a few projects that are before us, as well, that the applicants deem that it's time sensitive, right? So if you say yes or no, I think it's just important to understand what their schedule is and why they need it to be, whether we would need to go fund it in the fall or the spring or whatever. I think it just kind of leaves the door open. And then lastly, it's just the same project description. We did that. So we basically added those 4 questions and then added the beginning piece. So
let's open that up for conversation, discussion, questions. Wendy.
The concept of deferment, is that something that other communities have done? Or is that a new idea?
I don't know for sure. I don't think it's inconsistent. There's nothing that I am aware of statewide in the statute or in our local bylaws that would prevent us from making those types of decisions. People don't get funded because it's not a priority all the time, all across the state. So I think it's just a version of that, but it's not an official term that's defined in the legislation. But there's a lot of things not defined in the legislation, so
Right.
I don't think it's out of bounds at all, if that's what you're.
Oh, I think it's really clever. I like the concept, and if I was on the other end as an applicant, I would much prefer to receive that than go through the whole process.
It's a lot of work to put.
It's a lot of work.
Application together.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And if you're not gonna get funded, why make them go through all that?
right.
So I would point out, though, it does require us to make an early judgment on a project, 1, 2, 3, 4 months in advance of the final application being due. And sometimes those intervening months could be critical in us evaluating the project.
Mhm.
So,
So I have two questions. We have 19 right now. And let's say we are able to fund, I'm just gonna throw out a number, 9 of them. If we had this form. Now, would we automatically mark those remaining 10 as eligible deferred due to budget constraints? Please apply, consider applying next year. Like, is that automatically?
I guess that's a version of what I was trying to say.
To go through.
It would,
Project by project.
Okay.
it would make this stage much more a budget stage,
Okay.
where we would be
So it's not
getting out the
automatic.
spreadsheets,
Okay.
getting out the spreadsheets saying, this is what we, presumably, we wouldn't just invite the projects we're gonna fund. Because I think that would run the risk
Yeah.
of, not being able to expend our funds. What if one project dropped out, or what if, a project in the final presentation wasn't that impressive, and, their fundraising was lagging, and, all that type of thing that could prevent us from funding it, but it
So in
would.
that scenario, the remaining 10 would not automatically be told, we can't do you this year because of funds, come back next year.
Well, this is a new concept, so we are kind of making up the rules.
My thing is, I agree with Tom, I would say. I think there's a few projects, I would say, a few projects that I could say, hey, I wouldn't go to fund this year, right? I think, and it would say, hey,
Or
let's
next year.
defer. I would say, hey, maybe we could fund that in another year, but this specific year, it's not a priority because for whatever reason. I'll give you one,
I see what you're saying, I see.
it's like the lighting at the high school.
Right.
They'll still have lighting in a year. It's an energy efficient one, right? And it's a big ticket item. So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, then that could get deferred a year and they wouldn't have to go through a funding application. That's an easy one.
Okay,
There's some of these other ones I would absolutely say, listen. Yeah, they apply and things change and money will change and whatnot, and priorities will change. But maybe for some of them, we can say, okay, maybe we can defer that.
I see, so this is only saying eligible,
another-
submit a full application, number 19, maybe say 17 of them are eligible. And a couple of them are, whatever them.
We would have to go, we would have to
It's
go.
not
through
yes or no, it's just the next step. Right, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We would basically go through these 3 categories,
Yeah.
which we already did. That's why I think Pete was saying, does this go first or the next thing? It's clear that like whatever it is now, 17 or is it 19 now that are eligible, they are eligible. Now we go through those 19 and say, well, we know the 2 are not eligible, and then the last one is like, are eligible as they are, are we gonna defer this? Are we gonna defer this to another year? That's potential, that's like the
Well,
question on the
So
table.
there's another thing I would say is, I don't know how I feel about all of this, first of all. 2, I would not be in favor of applying new rules to an existing, round. People applied expecting we were gonna do the same thing we've done for 5 years. And I think changing up, and adding a deferral category, whether that's a good idea or not, but adding it in the middle of the process, I don't think
The
it's
problem I have with that,
good precedent.
the problem I have with that is, again, it's this thing of making people go through all the work of putting a funding proposal together. And given how much money and the projects that are out there, every other year, we've either funded all the projects or funded all but 1 or 2. I think this year we might only be able to fund 4 or 5 projects. Why make 19 go through this thing if we only have money to do 4 or 5 projects.
So
And again, we
I
haven't
would
gotten
agree.
there.
I would absolutely agree, and I also think it's also the value of our time, so like at some point too. You know. It's a lot of our own time going through all these applications, if we can make a decision earlier. Then I would say it's absolutely worth it for some of these
So
applications.
could we qualify the, I'm just, could we qualify the eligibility saying you are eligible, however, based upon the number of applicants and dollar value, it's unlikely that yours will.
Be funded.
Which is what we have.
I know.
But it's-
Yeah.
It's a little minor.
And the deferment also could be after the application stage. So we're saying here that the ability stage is deferment, so another option is to move it to when people fully apply.
I don't think that, I think that, like, to answer that, I think it should absolutely be here. I wouldn't put it to the funding because they're still gonna have to do all this work. And then the committee is gonna have to have a review period before we even see the funding. So this really is the stage to do it.
But that means that those who do fully apply, then are 95% can be funded, right?
We don't know.
I think in the past, I would say we would have to open it up to say, listen, we listen to everybody, and I think. This is the first year that we've had this many applicants with only so much money, and
I would briefly see more people like do work. And then it's a lot of work to go through that.
you have to go.
Estimate, you have to go do this stuff. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. No,
Might be wrong.
it's either Rob's or Kathleen.
No, it's probably me. I thought it was all.
I mean, whichever we go, I don't think saying it's eligible, please submit a funding application. It doesn't mean 100% that they're guaranteed funding. It's still.
No, for nobody's guaranteed
To the
funding.
view, and the same thing with the one that we're deferring, that doesn't indicate to them that next year they will be successful. It's just saying that you were eligible.
All right, let's get some other comments, people that haven't had a chance to talk. Just opinions on this, thoughts, suggestions.
The only other thought that I would have is that the 4 questions are really it's because we don't know, we don't have a database of the history of the applications. So, well, we sort of do, but we don't. It's sort of having them tell us rather than, don't you guys know whether you have been funded? It's like you idiots or something?
We do have a database, so it just needs to be
Right.
built or.
It'll be formalized again.
Yeah, so this would.
Cam is gonna build it.
Yeah.
Or rebuild
These are the
it.
I
questions
mean, this
we
is
need answered.
basically it. This
So
is
this
every
could
project
change. Yeah.
we've ever funded.
But it's also, it puts it back on the applicant. It's pretty simple. And then I think my response to you guys today too was, this one is easy to come through and just do it online, and you can fill it all through a PDF. And I was going back and forth or whether or not to do the funding one as like a quick fill in on the PDF. But I think it's much better. The funding one is more of a robust application where they would submit like separate documents for it. And I still like that piece, whereas this is still a short form that's meant to be fill in a couple of texts. And I don't think it's that tough to go through some of these questions and answer.
No, those are easy questions.
Yeah, and I think it just reminds the committee again, okay, yeah, this is what.
Yeah, I agree, as the committee changes too.
So I have like I said, I have a couple of concerns about this, but the primary concern is changing the rules in the middle of the round or in the middle of the process, even though it's maybe a modest change. 2, if we're gonna do this, I think the eligibility application needs to be more than an eligibility application. How are we gonna really evaluate whether we like a project and wanna defer it or not defer it unless we had know more about it? So I think this needs more thought, and I would not be in favor of moving forward with adopting this for this round, certainly. Going to Pete's concern, which I, recognize as a legitimate concern about making people who might not get funding go through the full, it's a lot of work. We acknowledge that. The way we've dealt with that in the past, because this is not the first year this is the first year we've had $6 million in application or in requests. But we've had years where we thought we wouldn't have to say no, and we ended up not, we ended up making the budget fit to a lot of projects, and we've said no to a relatively small handful of projects, but that wasn't necessarily at this stage our expectation. In some years we thought we would have to say no to more. What we did in the communication back to the applicants is let them know that the budget was extremely tight, and my read of that is hint hint, you may not get funded. And then it's their decision to go forward with a full application. If they feel like, boy, the chances are not good, it's really on the applicants. But I think, so that's my view on this.
Well, can I respond to that? Because
Sure.
it occurs to me that one thing we could say in the letter is that we welcome you to consider reapplying next round, given the.
Yeah, I'm also uncomfortable with that. Here's the reason I'm uncomfortable with that is, we can't bind a future committee. Next year's committee might look different, right? I may resign, but it just, and so, we may get 16 brand new, knock them out of the park applications, and it's still not a priority.
Yeah.
So I think the deferral, one of the problems I have with the deferral is it implies, doesn't say, but it implies you might be more favorably evaluated next year. And I don't think that's the case. Some of the projects that are on the bottom of my list every year were gonna be on the bottom of the list every year.
But we could add that to the wording.
You could word it still.
The words,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
No, I'm not.
Deferring to indicate that.
Despite my negativity, I'm not opposed to the overall concept of trying to
Make progress.
improve the process for residents and applicants.
But let me just remind you
Yep.
that you were also against both of these steps, right?
I am.
And so I'm wondering what do you think is a better process for this thing? Like, if we got rid of both of these processes, here's where I think this is a huge benefit, is that listen, my time is very short these days, as you guys know.
Mhm.
I'm crazy busy.
Mhm.
I love this committee, but I'm crazy busy. And if we can reduce the amount of meetings and just the amount of applications, we really need to figure out a way so that we can pare down some of these, because this year we had way too many applications, in my opinion. And we really need to figure that out.
To answer your question, I would go with a desk approval of eligibility. And a one round application. A desk approval meaning,
Yeah.
it would
Because you
be,
could look at the list.
it would be the chair of the committee working with our staff and saying, yep, nope. And just doing that and eliminating the last 3 meetings we had.
Yeah.
But I've raised that before, and the committee in its wisdom has decided that they don't want to do that. So.
But I think this is so from my answer to that is, this is a happy medium, right? Where
Mhm.
I think we would have to wordsmith this, because what I like about this is I'm not trying to weed out like 10 people. What I'm trying to say is, listen, there's definitely some applications that are more priority this year that are more, that I think are a bigger priority than others. So in that, because I would say in the last 4 years that we had this committee, is we've reviewed them really early, and there's been a big change between eligibility applications, and I think we missed that.
And
We missed that
and
whole
that's
step between.
what I think one of the very strong arguments that I've heard from several people.
So
here.
my counter
So
to that,
that's-
this answer is that we've now seen a bunch of these applications because at this stage that come before us, and we could say, listen, this is where I deem this. And to answer you, like, I could get on board with saying, okay, this happens next year, and then we waste a lot of time like putting 19 applications forward and they submit it to us. I could get there. And say, okay, we do that, but I absolutely think we need something in here to filter out some of these folks, because the more the years go on, we're gonna get more and more applications.
And this is the third year in a row I'm making this suggestion that we weed out some at this stage and it always gets shot down. But I just think, from my point of one who's done a lot of proposals for funding, you know, it's a lot of work. And if there's no chance some of these are gonna get funded, why make them go through the work? To say nothing about us having to review them.
Right,
To
I think
me,
it's both. I think it's both. One is, you know, listen, I'm always like, okay, you know, you give them some that we just know, okay, reapply, but then they're gonna have a bunch of work, right, with the funding application, and then it's gonna be another however many nights that we gotta sit there and review them. And if you can make that decision now, I think there's a few that you can make the decision now. Whether, you know, I do think, you know, the fact that we're doing this now and that we didn't put this out for the application early enough. I think we wait a year and say, hey, do this in a year and we get the wording that correct. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So how?
So can you explain the process? So this is the application, we determine eligibility. There's then gonna be a letter sent out to the 19 to say, yes, you're eligible.
Or all.
The one that is not, you next say no.
Yeah.
Is there not a way, and I mean, maybe I said this earlier and I just catching up, is there not a way in that letter to say somewhat what you're saying without saying exactly, because the say you are eligible? Yes. You are free to go through the process of applying. And we will consider you. However,
But we had $6 million.
there's $6 million. It is up to you to then.
we say that every year.
We
did,
And we
okay.
ask them to, you know,
We
look
could-
at ways to reduce their ask or whatever. And we'll put specific things in there that the committee discussed and recommended and thought you need to consider this, or in your proposal, you know, get some more of this or whatever. So we
Do
specifically
you ever go as far as
give them
saying
some.
it is? General consensus is, it is unlikely that you will be funded this year.
We
We
never
have
done
not gone that far.
Never gone that far.
But I don't think, I think that sets us up for danger to say, I don't think we should, I don't think you're gonna be, I think you either deem it now and say, listen, you're eligible, but you're gonna be deferred to another funding round. Maybe it's like that. We can say, please consider next year. Maybe it's, you're not eligible, you're eligible this year, but we're deferring you to another, you know, another funding round.
So Kathleen, what about the legalities of eligibility? And then denying somebody's ability to apply? I'm not saying,
Yeah, I mean, well, it's an internal rule to be adopted.
right,
Not everybody does it.
right,
You know, most people just say it's an application, have a nice life. You know,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
the fact that we've done this two-step thing. I mean, that goes to Rob's point of like, this is not something we should be doing now, changing the process. While people have already applied into our old process. But I definitely think it's a way to look at it for next year. I don't know why we make it this complicated.
yeah,
I mean, it was
I think-
in the beginning, we only had like.
When it was easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
if you're gonna be getting 10 to 15 applications, 15 applications.
22.
We got 20.
Well, no, I just said that, you know, is that if you're gonna get that many every year, you're gonna drive yourself nuts. I mean, every CPC committee that I've worked with has had kind of a list of things that we want. You know, we want to buy this piece of property, and you're looking for that, we're looking for this, there's always a shopping list that CPCs have. But I don't think you need to make it as complicated as this, as possible.
Tim, did you want?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, to kind of piggyback off of Kathleen, I think as we move forward and you're getting more applicants, maybe the eligibility part is not.
We're going to Tom's idea about it.
It's approval or not approved, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that could be more straightforward for the
Yeah.
committee, like you are approved for the next step, you are not approved
Yeah.
for the next, like that. Like a grant RFP, right? Like when you
Right.
send out an RFP, this is
Yeah,
what we're looking for, this is the mission, this is what we want. This is the 3 categories that we're looking for, then they send in the application, you are approved, try again next
So-
year.
Right,
That's what it is.
that's what it is. And it's up to them
It's up to
to
them
read the
apply.
directions
Exactly.
and make sure that they're eligible.
Right.
So, but what I will say, and why, we did it this way, we made it a little bit complicated. What I will say is it's worked really well for us in the last 4 years because we've had plenty of eligibility applications come in and completely do like a 180 with different stuff. And the only way they did that was because we didn't short circuit this process.
Right.
It's because they did become before our
Right.
committee and we gave them back feedback, which I think if you ask that, I mean, you could ask a survey to past applicants and say, listen, and my guess would be is they said, hey, listen, you guys helped us out along the way. And I think it's been very beneficial to those applicants because we then came to funding and the funding round was easier on us. But this year, it's getting worse. It's just getting harder and harder. I don't see a way out of like, by the way, I don't think like 19 applicants are gonna all get approved. But we can't be like so legislative across and say, listen, we're gonna fund everybody 25% because I think our committee's gonna fail miserably, right?
Well, there's some projects that can't get 25% funding and still survive. So that's-
Right.
And the thing is that we, in the beginning, sort of did them as a desk decision. I mean, Julie would call me up and say, I've got this applicant, somebody's talked to me about this, and what do you think? And I would say, yeah, whatever, and yes or no. And so now we have staff. And so this kind of eligibility process is being done by this committee, because there was no one else looking at it. When you think about the planning board and the planning community, somebody comes in and meets with our town planner. And says, throws a roll of plans on the table and says, well, what do you think about all of this? And the planning director can say, you are out of your mind, you should not have it. And so, so there is that level of staff involvement before it gets to the planning board or the ZBA. And so, with that kind of model, it's
Yeah.
something we could look.
And I think there's a blend of what you and Rob are talking about, because Rob is absolutely right, but the only thing I would say, Rob, to that is, it is a percentage, and I think a minority of applications that need that help, if you will, right? We have improved, I agree with you, we have improved a lot of projects from eligibility to, and either making them more consistent with CPA or better projects overall, name it, but I think it's a relatively small minority. I don't want to put a percentage.
I don't know. I think it's been a lot more.
Just about every project letter, the eligibility letter we put out, gives them some hand space.
Oh, yeah, but that's.
And
that
that-
could be-
but I also-
I think that could be done in a desk review. In terms of really getting in and diving and getting our hands dirty
Yeah, we don't do that.
with, I think it's a couple projects every year that we've done that level of intensive work.
Yeah, or what I liked about it too is that. Just the pool of applicants, it could just be a resident that comes before us, and they may need a lot of help.
Yes.
And I think what our committee has done really, really well, and we've pushed for is say, listen, you might have a $300,000 project, but this project isn't ready to be cooked yet. Go do planning, and we've done that. And they said, hey, listen, we'll give you a little bit of seed money and go out. And we have a number of success stories. Peverly Playground, which is now getting built, was one of them that's been funded 3 or 4 rounds. So that's why I go back to like this application and the questions that we've answered. That listen, if you've gone through, we've funded you a little bit at a time, and we believe in your project. I think it's like, hey, the committee's gonna continue to fund you, and that's where I think it's helpful. Going back, now that we have CAM, we could absolutely, it would be putting the trust in you, and maybe there's a few members or something as a subcommittee on this board to say, hey, maybe they come to you. The question is also, how many hours does Cam have to commit to this committee, right? And so that's a question too, like, do they just come to you with a few, like a subcommittee to, at this stage, right? And you're giving the applicant that feedback. They get that feedback to say, hey, listen, you're one of $6 million applications, and we only have $1 million worth of our budget. We need to get to our $1 million. How do you propose we get there, you know, kind of thing. So I don't know, I think there's a lot of questions that are left open.
Other comments? Discussion.
I would be in favor of the pre-application meeting that is kind of being thrown out there, right? Like Kathleen said, that's what you do in the planning and zoning.
Yeah, I mean, planning,
Milton or
people
Boston.
come in with Liz, meet with Liz, and, you know, we had an application
Yeah.
that should never have gone to us.
Right,
That should never have
it's
wasted.
weeded out right there, and then nobody has to spend that time, the applicant doesn't.
They hired an architect, they spent all this money doing building plans for something that they would never have a way was gonna get approved.
I would be in favor of that, I don't know who that necessarily is, whether it's a chair and Cam, or whether it's a chair and someone else appointed, but I think that would save everyone's time. Right.
But, you know, what I think might be helpful. I think it should be more than on one person in Cam. What I could see is having 2 or 3 people in a subcommittee with you to review the applications as they come in. Now, it's a lot of work, right? Now, think about it. For every single one, I would think you'd be giving them a hour time slot, and you gotta figure that out, right? So it's just putting our work of the committee back onto you and some members of the committee to do it, right? And do it. So, I would be in favor of that. Then what we could do is, like, you basically get rid of the eligibility application. It goes that way. It weeds down then to whatever you need, and then the funding I would think we would develop a funding application with the same questions. Right? I think you do the funding application with the same questions, and then you have it there, so you could, and maybe you weed out some of them.
But out of these 22, we only found two.
That were
ineligible.
Right.
So that doesn't get us very far.
No.
So eligibility is not a big hurdle. The question is, you know, how do you evaluate the next
It's not,
level?
and then that's really one of, I mean, there's many projects that we can look at for this year, you're thinking, you know, yeah, it's eligible, but. Gonna be no.
Let's
And so why go through this whole twist? If, you know,
go through which twist.
the eligibility,
thing.
you know, when you're gonna say, yeah, most of the, I mean, when we first started, and we didn't have this process. You know, Julie would call me up, I was the chair, and she'd say, you know, we got this, is that eligible? And I'd be like, no.
Yeah, the eligibility is not an issue, but if we don't have eligibility and it's just a full application. Again, they're spending a lot of time to put the full application together. And they have no feedback from the committee, no idea at all, you know, how it fits in there.
So
They've
what-
gone all this far.
What if it was what if it was a hybrid, what if we still had an application for eligibility form?
Or maybe it's not eligibility, maybe it's called preliminary application.
Sure, but yeah, whatever,
Something.
it has some information, I mean,
Yeah.
Tom, you created that nice spreadsheet, I presume that was you. You pretty easily went through and said yes or no. Fairly easily, I know it took time. But-
No, that's right.
If we have a minimal, I mean, you know, some projects went above and beyond, which is fantastic, but some of them were just one page and a little bit of information. If everyone on the committee reviewed this, provided a couple of comments, if they had comments to the chair and to Cam, could that pre-application meeting then kind of sit down with the applicant and say, these are the comments from the committee, blah, 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 you're eligible, and then save 3 meetings of this, or no, is that?
I think, yes, I think, Rob was using the phrase subcommittee. I would not want to set up a subcommittee because that triggers all sorts of open meeting law and stuff like that. But I think what we could do is, solicit those comments, from members, and then on a rotating basis, assign, again, I'm gonna make,
Well,
this is not based on an analysis of this year, but my experience on this committee, tells me that of the 22, half of them are eligible and don't need any help. Don't need really anything from us. They just need to move on to the next step. Now, other people may disagree with that. I think, my opinion is we've been too controlling, and don't let things organically come to us. But that's my personal opinion. But I think a bunch of these don't really need anything other than, yes, come see you in the fall.
Right.
Then the other half need Rob Lavash because he has subject matter expertise and Cam sitting with them and giving them the advice, or Pete Jackson, or, any, right, and we could split it up. So that
You
not,
would say that the 22 gets rid down to 11, and others 11, Pete, you
or
get.
whatever the number,
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah,
maybe,
You
I-
could just divide it up into.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe I'm wrong and all 22 need help and we just divide it up.
Or to be honest, like, listen, I think on this committee though as well, is there's expertise in different ones, right? Like,
Yes.
open space and
Yes.
recreation, put me on.
Yes.
But the
Absolutely.
historic commission,
Absolutely.
you would have,
Right.
Steve, and so that's, that, I would use the committee.
Yeah, subject matter.
Volunteer to do it, and then ultimately it's up to chair to say, yes.
Yeah.
Steve, you get assigned these 3, and you're gonna meet, you have to meet by this date.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this all changes now because we have Cam. I think that it helps us.
Don't say that, just.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's like, use that, use her so that we can value our time, so we don't have so many meetings on our books.
I mean, I'm for that. All right.
I guess we would still have to, people would still have to do the 2-step application of our budget.
Yes.
Because the eligibility will go to. It's just a different process.
But it's not the whole committee getting out of 3 nights.
Yeah.
At the same point that we would have.
And maybe,
Some of them are-
to be honest, would we even have to meet at all? For
Okay.
eligibility, we might not have to.
Just to vote on.
Yeah,
It's like.
we don't have to vote on it.
Right.
You don't have to vote, it's just a yes or no.
It's like, no, yes, no, yeah, no, it doesn't require a vote.
Okay.
All right, so I would, be, at some risk here, I would be in favor of deferring this discussion. Again, my strong opinion is we should not change the rules for this round. And I hear the arguments against that because we're gonna ask 19 applicants to potentially submit applications and a bunch of them will not get funded, but I don't feel comfortable with changing the rules basically in the middle of the process.
I don't think it's changing the rules.
It's
It's the way
absolutely
you stuff.
changing. It's diverging from 4 years of history that we've never done this.
I do think.
And it might, I mean, it might not get a lot of blowback, but I just don't think we should do that. So I'm only one vote, so.
I do think there's, I agree with you in the fact that like, we're changing an application that someone already applied to. So I absolutely don't think that's the right way to go on this committee. You can't change in the middle of this. However, I think there is something to be said that when you respond to all these applicants, all those responses can be framed with like, listen, there's $6 million worth of applications.
We're talking
And
about
there's
the
a
letter.
No, your letter.
The letter can be more precise this year, I think.
Exactly.
But,
But
the irony of all this is if applicants listened to all these meetings on Zoom, they would, some of them at least would get a sense of what, where the committee is at this point.
So Andrew, she's leading. Good,
she just dropped her application. Oh, there we go.
All right, so,
But I do think we need, then we do need a decision for the following year or whatever, how we go about this process, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's for.
and I would suggest that
Discussion on-
now is not the time
No, now.
to vote on that, but,
When does this committee meet again after this?
We,
September.
we have,
Well, it depends, we
Yeah.
might have another one if we don't get through them all tonight.
we,
Yeah.
Oh,
we just got to,
Right, we have the discussion of the two for this fall,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mm.
but I guess we're through what the.
We may, so we do not have a meeting in August, we have a, our initial schedule that I think every member got, maybe with the exception of you. Although I thought no, anyways, but is a series meeting starting in October after the eligibility. We originally, when we were planning that, had a September 14th meeting on the calendar, which we, Jenny reminded me, we didn't meet in September last year, so we canceled that. We may bring that back depending on the.
Well, I would like us to meet September 14th and secure this up. I think we need to get this done. I think we need to have the application process figured out, and I would rather do that in September than continue this on.
I think we've got it all done except for those two projects, is that what you're referring to?
No, what I'm saying is we had a lot of
For next-
discussion.
for next-
What I'm saying is we had a lot of discussion tonight,
Mm.
and we're still, it's a lot of open questions for me. Listen, this is a lot of work too that we've done on this, and I'd like to see progress on it, right? So I don't think we basically say, hey, we kind of put two things on the table. And now that we have Cam here, and I think he'll be in our meeting, I think if we do that in September, you just put that on the agenda and let's figure it out, right? And so that we can put in place for future meetings that people know and they understand the process that we can do it. If we defer that, I'm worried that it's gonna take a lot of time. And at least our heads are in this now, that I don't wanna wait it for a long time to
That's
figure
fair,
it out.
yeah, we
I
can,
mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like the longer you wait for things, then it doesn't get.
Well,
It doesn't
if we're
get
not
done.
gonna put it into effect now, we can defer it now till September or.
Right, yeah. But you know, I know what's coming down the line is now 19 applications that we gotta review, so that's gonna be at least 4 meetings and whatever else till the end of the year. I don't think this discussion happens until next, whatever. Right,
It needs-
and then we're in trouble because we're at a process, right?
Yeah.
And it would be good, I think, for any future applicants and even the applicants that are applying now, that they know a clear path forward.
Mhm.
Like, hey, we have this, we have an administration now, and I mean, I do think. I think there's some value in still having the 2 steps, you would do a process and divide it up and get it done so that we don't have so many meetings and whatever, but we'll need the right language and the forms and all that.
May I make another suggestion
Mhm.
to the eligibility application? I think it would be useful to button this up by putting a character limit on the narrative and not allowing attachments. Because I think the way it is now is really open-ended and
That's true.
and somebody could come in and basically submit a fully fleshed out application, but that's not what we want. If what we want is just a succinct summary, then let's tell them that's what we want by putting either word or a character limit on it. No attachments.
Yeah, cause even on this says, please include materials,
Yeah.
attachments or whatever. I mean, if we really wanna boil it down. It's like. I think that these questions and everything go to the funding piece, cause where it's getting clouded is we're trying to make decisions early, which. There's some value in that, but we basically eligibility is just that. We just really quick form, you can just fill it out, we can limit characters, could limit attachments, all that. And then for the funding, we would have to redo the funding form, basically.
Well, I think we're getting rid of the idea of an eligibility application, right?
No, I don't think so.
Right, they call it preliminary,
Still.
knowing that most are gonna be
we have to
eligible.
get something, and it also needs to be public, right?
Yeah.
So one of the concerns is not making this so not transparent,
Right.
So,
so that the public doesn't.
so now there's eligibility and then there's like a preliminary that
No.
gets this.
No. I think our process is the same.
No,
If you just do
No.
the preliminary,
absolutely
that
not.
gives the one or two people a chance to review it and say,
That's what I mean.
technically
Not
eligible. But, well, it's
So-
Not just if you're eligible.
I'm gonna try something, so I think Rob's making a good point about
Okay,
September
let's do
4th,
September.
14th, but I hesitate to say this because I don't want to delay it further, but I think we should take advantage of having a staff person and do a random, not random, but a selected survey of what other communities do. We've never done that. Maybe we did that in the very first year. But I think there's some learnings from what Plymouth is doing, what Somerville is doing, what Canton is doing. And it may not change a single thing about this discussion, but we are clearly have some different opinions. This committee has been really in sync on the funding, but we have some different ideas about how the application process should flow and our level of involvement. And some of them, it just, I think would benefit from, and we could work with the Stuart Sagamore, is the executive director of the statewide community preservation coalition, which we're a member of, and we could get some suggestions from him about, and his staff about what other CPCs are well organized, are efficient, or, you know, have generally considered well run, and again, it may change nothing about this discussion, but we may get some ideas that could help us think through
I
the
think
process.
I think one thing that would be valuable too for you, Cam, now that we have you, is I don't think it's just surveys of other communities, which I think that's valuable, but also I think you already have a pool of applicants that have been funded, they've done successful projects here. I think the survey should go out to all the past applicants for feedback, to say, listen,
That's a great.
what was the process?
Yep.
You know, what did you find? You know, you can help us write a survey that says, was it efficient? You know, what's helped you, you know, feedback. So then the community can review that feedback, because
That's,
you know, I think many communities are different too. And I think, you know, some of us who've been on the committee for many years too, I think that's why we're trying, it's evolved, right? And so we're trying to make it more efficient and try to get there, but.
yeah, I agree. I think that's an excellent addition to that is we do have some 40 projects that we've funded in Facebook. So,
Just trying to wrap this up, but
Yep.
it would be useful for September 12th to actually have a presentation of what the process might be. So instead of it being open-ended, everybody has stars in, but to actually suggest, and maybe Tom, you and Cam or me, and could come up with, this is a starting point for the next discussion on this. Including, I would suggest the language on the website. So for instance.
But I think what Tom's saying is we might not, whatever it is, I think we need to put the meeting on I'm worried that I just know how this committee is gonna go, and the funding is gonna take up all of our time. So,
right, in October it is.
right?
Yeah.
And so the issue is gonna be is, I do think it's valuable to go out, do a little bit of research, do the surveys and everything, get feedback. But we should schedule whatever that is before the eligibility application and get this thing nailed down.
Yeah.
But the next eligibility application
Is
is
until
until the end of May,
And
so it gives us.
so it gives us some time.
some time to do this process.
Yeah, and for example, I'm looking at Plymouth's website, so they have one application. And the applications are due the last Friday in May, the fall town meeting, and the last Friday in September for the spring town. So they take applications.
Well, that's another way, right? You could do, I mean, that's one big limitation for
The other
us
thing is
too.
that they also supposedly meet twice a month. So it's-
There we go.
That wouldn't be the less meetings,
But what,
so just an example of what. So,
but then that poses an issue though too, because. You have $1 million a year, now you've got 2 town meetings, and so are you just saying, hey, listen, we're gonna do 500, whatever it is, you split it half and half?
The reason it has been that way in Plymouth is because there were a lot of acquisitions. Plymouth buys a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
They buy tons of it. And so you have a purchase and sale agreement, you have to do that in a certain period of time, nobody's sitting there for a year. So the purchase of the general funding and all that sort of stuff, and talking whatever's gonna go in which bucket, that always happened in the spring. But the fall of them would be actual purchases out of that of this current listing. So but that's a process because of what Plymouth did. Not every city and town goes out and buys a bunch of stuff. Plymouth did.
And that's, and that.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're gonna find, Tom, you know, when, in my first year, I did a ton of research to get to this application process.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, I think every town and community is different, and I think it's, and so I think it's just, for me, it's more important to like figure out who the people here, what their experience is, and then kind of figure it out. And you just don't know, I think it's also like, I think what's gonna be important is to find a town that's like Milton with similar budget, similar.
Yeah.
So like, that's what I would look at.
Rob, as I mentioned, Liz Van.
Yeah.
Did this job in Bridgeton,
Right.
and she's.
Nice.
Right, yeah.
yeah, so
Exactly.
she's a resource that we should
Nice.
talk to, yep, Wendy.
Rob, did you have any edits for the application
Yeah,
itself?
one.
Oh, for the funding,
Yeah,
so I did add, I think it was like
Number
one
5.
number, and it was similar to it was similar questions asking about past funding.
It's
okay,
only,
Yeah.
it's, question number 5, past CPC support and funding. If this project has previously received CPC funding, please provide the amounts received and how they have been used to date.
Yeah.
So do you wanna vote on that for that?
Adding that.
That, I mean, that, to me,
That one's easy.
it's
I think.
easy and
It's
it's
administrative.
changing the application, but it's not really, you know.
I have something that
But-
I'd
but
like to
no-
add.
Yeah, but no one's applied yet for this, so we
Correct.
could adopt
Right.
that and then post
Correct.
it on the website.
Right. I know for a while now, we've been talking about adding a reporting process to our applicants.
Yes.
I think that now's the time to do that. I don't know where we should be putting it, but I would like to formalize that for this round.
So that's in all of the grant agreements.
Yeah. It's separate.
Yeah.
So
But we don't.
But
have
we
grant
don't,
agreements.
you know, we're not getting it
well,
over.
we have not had staff for over a year to ask for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a issue, in my opinion. We have a legal contract with them that they have to provide information to us. We just haven't asked.
For about half of it.
Oh.
like, could we formalize
Well, the
the
other half
process?
are
Oh,
town.
they're town.
You know, like,
Which-
like in a lot of grants that I apply to, it's spelled right out. You will be expected to provide a report on such and such date,
Right.
or you will not get money.
Right. That part.
Right,
That part.
and I think it's a really important part of the expectation process, and people put it on their calendar, they know that it's something they have to do. Project management is driven by deadlines, and so that's how you get her done.
And
Is it's hard,
I
it's
wouldn't-
language though, on an
I wouldn't be in favor of that. We have lots of citizen volunteers that are applicants and recipients of this project, putting sort of language that's more suitable for, I mean, I've been a professional nonprofit fundraiser for my entire career, but I also ran a staff of 13 people. I had people that could keep track of those deadlines and do, I don't think, having that type of language for, I'm all for the reporting, but I don't think we need that type that, So
It would be in the grant agreement,
Right.
basically.
yeah, that they
Yeah.
provide, but I think it's inevitably, even with that language, with volunteer projects, we're not gonna get reported on
And we can,
unless we ask for it.
we can periodically just call and say, we can ask them or email, ask for an update. And if it doesn't come in, we can just call them
Right,
and talk to them.
Right.
I'm
That's-
just thinking about all of the time that we spend just calling and chasing down a lot of people, I feel like. It would be a lot easier if the burden was on them, where if they can't make the deadline, they can call us and ask for an extension, of course, no big deal. But at least it's, and it doesn't have to be anything burdensome, I mean, it could be, 1,000 characters, just let us know.
I hate to like kind of lead us into another direction here. There was 2 applications that were before us that were supposed to come before fall town meeting, or they
That's
were
right.
trying to be before fall
It's
town meeting.
on,
Is that on the list? Or, so that's,
what's next.
I guess the question is. Or at least what Wendy posed was, I do think it would be valuable to have that question in. Now, you could take these 4 questions from this eligibility and put them there, but maybe we don't need that. I think it probably is enough what we've
I
written.
think number 5 is fine.
Yeah, number 5 is fine, and just say, cause then they'll elaborate on it.
Well, so just to say, in the grant agreements that I have drafted, we have a requirement during the term of the agreement, which is usually a 3-year thing, they have to provide annually to the committee, providing the status of the project, the work undertaken, and the anticipated completion date. But what we haven't been doing is asking for that. But that's what it is in every draft grant agreement with a non-government. So we haven't had the Conservation Commission fill out, so we can do a grant agreement, although the first round we sort of did, but after that we stopped for the town boards. But certainly a private party like the Forbes or even the cemetery trustees, and certainly for, Winter Valley or whatever, I mean, we had a grant agreement with PCR for the, for the,
What happens though, like, I'm just curious, for a town like the Concom that hasn't done this bridge and it's been over 3 years,
we go to
What
town
happens?
meeting and board.
and you have to take it out, yeah,
We can't, if we decide we want to.
right?
And we've gotten, verbal updates from her.
Yeah, which now, like this year, it was like, okay, I think we're gonna.
You could, if you wanted, we could do a grant agreement with the town, I mean, but. We haven't decided to do that.
yeah, I don't think it would be an issue
I don't
for
think it would.
getting reports from town departments.
Yeah.
I think,
Just getting it.
I think we have to, right, we have to be staff, we have to ask, and we have to, and.
But it's been an annual.
And we have to follow up, and I don't, again, my personal opinion, based on some of my nonprofit experience, is putting
To the committee.
deadlines or dates, it's not gonna change the fact that we'll have to ask and we'll have to chase a little bit. I just have no confidence that putting dates will result in anything.
Well, even so, I mean, to Wendy's point, I think it's,
I don't know, I mean, people submit an application by the deadline.
I mean, to Wendy's point, I think it.
Grant reports are,
That's my jam.
I think a different animal in this environment, but again, I mean, we could add it to the list of things we survey other communities about, and
So can to move
You
this
shouldn't
along?
have to, because they've been basically using the one that I put on the website, it's basically.
Can we move this along and can we vote on the funding application with the number 5, the update to the number 5? Did everyone see that? Here, I can hold on a second. Let me share my screen.
But I would suggest, I mean, to Wendy's point, I think
Oh,
it's,
this.
important to have people think about that.
Mhm.
And that it can be not necessarily part of the application, but it can be in the website. Sort of, some sort of mention of the expectation as an application plus a reporting process.
annual report,
Yeah.
reporting process, yeah.
And so at least they're,
I'm
There's
all in
a-
favor, I would be all in favor of that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I'm not,
the
reporting is good, but I just don't wanna, I don't wanna give the impression that it's not always gonna fall on us. That's, again, that's my opinion.
So should we try
I
to
think
tip it back
those
to
that,
one change on the funding
Yeah.
application?
Yeah. So number 5, this is the same application for funding. We would then, but what we're voting on, I think, is number 5 is the update. Past CPC support and funding. This project has been previously received CPC funding. Please provide the amount received and how they've been used to date. That's it.
Okay.
So it's just one addition to this, and then they would just attach it to their.
Okay.
so
You wanna make
that's
a motion?
that's a motion.
Yeah,
To
make a
adopt
motion
that
to
number
adopt
5, second,
Second,
all right, motion and second, any further discussion? All right, all in favor, Jenny?
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
Rob,
Yes.
Stephanie,
yes.
Al,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
all right, yes. All right, that's unanimous,
Good job.
so. Okay, Jenny attempted to, sort of, I think, try to clarify what the process looks like from here. A number of ideas, including things I've thrown out of doing a survey of the communities, Rob's idea of surveying past grant applicants. The date September 14th has been floated. That date has become hard for me to do a meeting now. It's possible that I could still do it, but I'm traveling that day. Hopefully we'll be back by 7 o'clock, but
I have a meeting with the Milton Library Foundation on.
the 14th, yeah. I mean, no one has the 14th, no one on the committee, no one on the committee has the 14th on their.
Yeah, from the National Geographic ship of Greenland.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So no one on the committee has the 14th on their schedule as of this point, because it's not a meeting we had posted, or distributed to you. It was just a meeting under discussion when, back in January, when we discussed it.
I think if we have till May to do this, I think.
Well, we have until about January, February, really, is to finalize the eligibility application. May,
Application form.
the application form,
Oh, yeah.
because that's when we start publicizing it
Right.
and, you know,
Yeah.
So what?
Okay, so could we,
What if in September we spend, you spend time, we spend time between now and September and
Yeah.
do the survey?
I think that's right.
And in September, we come back with those results.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because I'm afraid over the summer, if we met on September 14th, we wouldn't have a
Yeah.
robust enough.
Exactly.
We still may have to meet at
How
some
many
point in
hours a week
September
do we
because of.
I think we might need to pull you full time.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
I've been playing, I don't know.
so Cam and I will talk about some sort of vehicle to communicate back to applicants and to other like communities about their process. And we'll get that going in August and September and have,
It's a lot
and
to do
then
before September 14th, but
we're not meeting September 14th.
we're not.
No.
Okay.
Right, that, I thought we just agreed to that.
Yeah, that's
But
fine.
you don't need to have a meeting.
Yeah. I think
Yes,
it's too.
but then what I would say is that's the meeting after we decide on this round, this year's, in October, we've got a series of meetings, October and November. A series of probably 4 meetings on the calendar.
Let's see,
It's well.
fifth, the 19th,
Fifth.
When do we have these?
November 2nd. And November 16th, yes. So you want me to repeat those?
Yes.
Okay, October 5th.
Yeah.
October 19th. November 2nd. And November 16th.
November second, sorry.
Those are the 4 meetings that were set to discuss whether we'll need all 4 is up.
We're gonna need at least 4 with 19 applications.
Well, some may not
We
apply.
might not get 19.
I mean, we probably will need all 4, but.
Try this way, but-
You're gonna need one to just.
So what I would propose is that we then revisit, so we do those meetings, deal with who we're gonna fund, who we're not gonna fund. And then in a scheduled December meeting to discuss the results of
Yeah.
Cam's research and bring together, a full discussion on.
The Yankee swap.
That's right.
The trading deadline for the Yankees is.
No.
Oh, not that Yankee,
We better put the date in now.
for December.
Yeah.
But it's, so is the December is for the decision.
Mhm.
So these four are just for presentations.
Mhm.
So that's probably.
No,
No.
those four get
December
their
is-
decision.
The idea is for 3 of those 4 meetings to be presentations.
3 and then one will be.
Fourth for decisions.
And December is to go with the surveys and then revisit the
Yeah.
application.
And then two different.
Yeah.
Did you write this?
Lot of it.
If you write those dates.
No.
Yes, the dates.
And these, 3 of these are applications, the 4th one is to vote.
Right.
And then
In
sometime in
December.
December, we'll have a Yankee swap and we'll talk about the surveys.
Okay. Got it.
And
And talk about that.
And a Yankee swap.
The
Yeah,
application
Yankee swaps.
Yeah.
So I won't be here the
Yankee
last,
swap?
those meetings in November. But on the phone.
I'll have a rehearsal on the 16th, but I'll be phoning in from one from LA, but I'll be in the other, all the other ones I'll be.
Do you want to suggest December 14th?
Yeah, can we?
Yeah, let's try to get that, December 14th.
That's a,
Monday, I can't remember, oh, Kathleen, you
Where on?
can't do Mondays.
Hmm?
You can't do Mondays now, right?
not that one.
Not that one,
But the,
15th,
what
Oh, I
about the
I could
second?
probably do that one. That's,
14th,
I could do the 15th, the 16th, 17th.
so the 15th. Everybody okay with it? Right now, it's fine, right?
Right now, it's fine. It's probably the week before I'll be in some other
All right,
country.
December
What are we
15th,
talking, 15th?
it's a Tuesday.
You said.
December 15th.
All right, December 15th is, would be the last meeting of the calendar year and the meeting to discuss the the final, the process, the application process. All right, thank you. That was, important and, not easy, but, it's good that
We're not there yet.
working the way through that. We're not there yet, but we're making.
Could you
progress.
just repeat those dates again for October?
Yeah, Jenny,
5th and 19th, the 5th.
The 5th and 19th of October and the 2nd and the 16th of November. And now the 15th of December.
all right, so the last item on the agenda is to, the warrant, it's listed as warrant articles for fall town meeting, but, so we have 2, applicants. The Atherton Street Fire Station. And the, Tucker School playground that have indicated, a need to go before fall town meeting, for different reasons, for, a decision, their application. Atherton, let's take Atherton for a second. It would be because they would wanna go to the ballot, on November, the election in November. They would need a town meeting vote, in order to have their funding sort of lined up. In order to have the ballot question look like it needs to look for voters to vote on it, basically. So, the latest information I have on that is, I think they are, Nick actually sent me an email late today. I think they're meeting. They're meeting tonight, sure. They're meeting, no, their meeting is, expected to be July 28th, so, the last conversation I had with Nick is I think there's some uncertainty even within the fire station building committee of whether they're gonna meet that time. So it puts us in this sort of position right now. I don't think we can make many decisions about this because one, we don't have enough information about the 3 million. The eligibility application said they wanted $3 million, but that was a guesstimate, I think is probably fair to say, of a $16 million project without really breaking out. You know, obviously this is a historic preservation project for us, so we would need to know what aspects of that project. And they're just not there yet. They don't have that broken out budget detail. And so I don't really think we can consider their application until and unless we have that type of budget detail. So I see a lot of nodding heads, but you know, obviously we wanna, so I just think we're gonna have to stay nimble as a committee and see what process they go through this summer and see if information that we need to make a decision is available on a timeline that.
What's the latest that they would have to go to an article for October?
Nick has said a lot of.
Today.
No, I think the timeline is slipping.
But there's nothing,
But there's a couple of different options too, of like missing the November election, calling for a special election. Those are all possibilities here. So the timeline might slip, but not slip dramatically, you know, so we'll, how good.
perhaps, we don't know the answer, but is there anything precluded from going to the spring town meeting, like?
Yes.
They wanna put it to bid.
They want to put it, they want to do it.
Obviously, yes,
So
Yeah.
so
I understand that, but
the issue for us, right, and for them
Yeah.
is supplanting. So the reason we would have to vote before the voters vote on this is they would need to know
right.
whether
How much it is going.
the 3
No,
million.
I understand that, but I'm saying, we're being asked. Again, bringing my newness and ignorance, we're being asked to do this ahead of time from what is historically been. Where we bring this for spring town meeting. Is there anything other than them wanting to, other than 6 months of
Getting it soon.
loss?
Yeah, that's
With the fire building, the fire department not having a new building.
Nick, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that,
Okay.
but Nick seemed to indicate, because I did mention that to him actually. And he says, no, I don't think it would slip to this.
Okay.
He was actually more emphatic than I'm portraying that it wouldn't slip to the Springtown meeting.
Okay.
It would be a
Somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between.
But like, we know that Tucker, speaking of, and I'm not trying to,
Yep.
we know that Tucker, if we don't do this now,
Correct.
gets delayed a whole year.
Yep.
And that is very impactful, but we
Yep.
think that
Yep.
there's a middle ground.
I don't believe that's true either.
Well,
I'll have to discuss.
All right,
So I'm saying for Atherton,
So
there's a middle ground perhaps.
So I think there is a middle ground for Atherton potentially. As chair, what I would be saying is that I don't think we have enough information to take any action on Atherton right now. I think we have to just see the process unfold, see what the committee can produce in a timely manner, and they'll produce it and we'll be the recipients of it as soon as possible.
Right.
And whether, and we may have to do a special meeting, just to consider that. Or we may have add it to our October meetings, we'll have to see, but.
But right now, we don't have
Right.
information.
Right, and I don't think even town meeting hasn't been scheduled. Do we have a date for town meeting in October?
October.
No,
At one point they were saying the 29th.
29th of October.
That was, at one point, that was gonna be it, but I think there's.
Yeah, so anyways, there's a lot of, too much influx to really debate anything unless people disagree on Apple.
I don't disagree about that, but I am reminded that Nick said that there could be a special election for the override.
Yes.
Correct.
Anytime.
So it doesn't have
The
to be.
spring.
No, I just said he wanted, they were trying to figure, if they do it, it's cheaper to do it at the same time as the elections, and also the tournaments.
Of course.
Yeah,
But we're not limited, I mean, that's an option, I think.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah, no, and I think it could be, I mean, he ran scenarios or just was speculating that scenarios. The election could be as soon as a couple weeks after the November election to into January, February, so it's very much in flux. All right, so I think we're in agreement on no action to be taken on Atherton. Tucker, so yes, Tucker has made the case to us. They've asked for 300,000. And Nick, obviously when he was here last time, Nick supported the PTO's application in the sense that, the town's generally supportive of this application, but also the timing, of that. The fall town meeting would have to, approve this. So that they, had funding secured for the entire project and therefore could go out to public bid process early in calendar year twenty
I have
twenty-seven.
a huge problem with what you just said.
Yeah.
You just said they would have to have the entire funding. $300,000 is not the entire funding of this project. So the big issue with this is they have a private campaign going and there's a bunch of money that's still not raised for that. So my issue with this is, yeah, you could go do 300,000 now, we could do 300,000 later, but if that is in fact what Nick's saying is, hey, you need all this money, secured to go out to funding, are they gonna have that ready, at what time?
Is that for us to decide?
It's not, but what I'm saying is we're saying before, if we're trying to be fair with an application process, we're saying, hey, Tucker, you're special, we're gonna fund you and before everyone else. And say, here, we're gonna go do this. We've never done this before, we're gonna go do this. In the meantime, if they had all the rest of the funding secured, I would say, hey, that's a good, easy decision. But there's a big question mark about whether that funding is. And listen, I'm a big supporter of Tucker Playground. I donated a good, big chunk of money to this playground. But I'm just saying the fairness of this application process, I'd like to see them continue on with their application, with their funding. As they go through, to get that. And I just think we're making a special case for one project, which is a big chunk of money. It's a big chunk of money.
Well, we could do a special in the spring, do a special in the end, huh?
Oh, we could,
That doesn't get it.
we could work,
That doesn't get them.
Oh, that's right, because it's too late for the article.
Yeah.
so we
I mean,
could
I think that,
tie this to whatever special meeting for that firehouse happens. And so have them go at the same time.
But
So have
they don't need to
to
go to town for the vote.
They
don't
don't
have-
go for.
Yeah.
they just need a town meeting vote. They need
But
a-
why, here's the other thing, why can't you go out to an RFP without, because right now, we could say, hey, we're gonna get $300,000, and in that definition, what you just said is, they don't have the funding secured, nowhere close, right? Because there's still a bunch of private funding that needs to happen in that, so why does it need to be now, that it wouldn't happen in the spring?
Because Nick and I think the PTO's assessments, and they made substantial progress, obviously, and the PTO's assessment, and Nick agrees with this assessment, is that there is a high likelihood of by October 29th or whenever town meeting is this fall, that they will have the funds secured.
And I think for this committee to be the missing link with that,
Right.
come through with it.
And I don't think we wanna be the ones holding
No,
that up.
I don't.
I agree.
That would
I
be
agree.
best.
The bottom line is they wanna go to bid so they can start construction as soon as school gets out, and not have to work.
They can only do it
July first.
And our money is not at risk, right? We can pull it back, if the project falls apart, basically, if they don't meet their deadline. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we could, so we're not putting money out there that then
She's
is.
giving them the money.
Right.
We're giving is the authority.
Right.
So are you saying, Tom, that come October, town meeting,
If it happens.
if town meeting happens, if for whatever reason they're not successful, at that time, we could pull that back?
Yes.
I mean, I'm looking at.
So in the same instance, we're telling 19 applicants, come before us for funding, but we're gonna secure a third of our money right now.
So that's.
Hold on, we haven't
That's the
even,
issue.
In the same conversation, we're saying,
we haven't even talked about a penny yet. All right, first of all, we're talking about the concept of funding Tucker. We haven't talked about 300, the request, so don't assume that I'm, that anybody's supporting the full 300,000. I think that's a separate issue, of how much, given our competing demands, that how much they might garner from our recommendation.
Okay, yeah,
So that I want to separate those a little.
yeah,
bit.
yeah, that makes sense.
So what? Oh, okay. Yep, Robbie, go ahead.
You can finish your thought.
That's a dangerous.
Okay, I just,
Go ahead, I'm good, I just
Sorry,
wanted
yeah,
to de-link those.
No, and that to me, it's $300,000 is a huge chunk of money to commit right now when we have 19 other
We'll talk
applicants.
about that.
Yeah.
What does Robbie have to
Yep.
say?
Go ahead, Robbie.
yeah, what I find, out of the ordinary is they haven't even submitted the application. We just changed the application about a minute ago. And so they haven't completed a full application. So I don't even know how we can consider them if we're following, the process that's been set.
So their eligibility application was more robust than most eligibility, but we could, I
You're
mean,
changing your rules.
we're making up a rule, obviously, because we've never brought any article to town meeting for the fall. So we could give them an advanced deadline, right? We could, I'm just hypothetically
We
saying.
could also put in for this eligibility application, so in your same language, you're changing the rules for this one applicant.
Yeah, we
You
absolutely are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting it on the record.
But
We're changing the rules.
We're responding
To
to,
a specific situation
Yeah,
yeah,
that is pressing.
right.
Respectfully, your application change is not pressing. Right, I mean,
it's a public school that can only do this type of substantial renovation
without,
in the summer. And they have a particular, I mean, to me, it's a particularly compelling timing request. Regardless of where we stand on the overall request, the timing request feels unique and compelling to me because of the nature of a public school being in session. You can't do that type of ripping up everything and, during the school year, basically. So that, that part does feel like, but we could say to them, full application due August 15th or something like that. But I do think their application was
Pretty cool.
pretty full. It got letters of support from every important town, committee. Impressively, the other 3 elementary school PTOs all supported the Tucker's PTO project, which, so they've done, they've done really good work, I think. And I do think the timing request is a reasonable request for them to ask us.
how different is the funding application
I
from
think-
what they supply?
I think they've.
Not very different.
Not very different. I think
There's not like
No.
there's 6 different specific things you guys ask us.
Yeah.
Okay.
we have the detailed budget, we have, we have
Budget schedule.
lots of. I haven't gone through it side by side, but I think,
Looking at it right now.
I think they have pretty much complied with what we would have asked for by September. With that understanding that they were asking us to speed up the timing, they knew what they were asking.
If I can just throw something in there that might allow you to think about, Rod. And that's why I kind of put this estimated budget together. I know we're not talking about budget, but. If we do what we typically do, like find up, how much we've got, how much is the 10% reserve, all that kind of stuff. And so if we divided the funding applications roughly to try to do a third, this is how much we've got. And in open space and recreation, we'd have 385,000. If we funded them for 300,000, that would mean there's very little for anything else at the rec field. And I think that's kind of what Rob is responding about. He doesn't want to see, all that money. One thing that hasn't been discussed in any way, so as not to have such a big impact, we could consider bonding the 300,000. That way they would have the promise of the money, but it wouldn't take our whole open space and recreation budget. And they haven't asked for it, and we haven't discussed it, but that might be one way that we can help them, but still not have such a big impact on our budget.
And they did say that it's just the promise of the money, it's not the
Right.
actual money.
No, you're not borrowing.
No.
All you've got is the authority.
So you don't borrow
Just the
until
authority.
you give them the money. Yeah,
Right.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Does it help with the timing? Does it make a difference from timing perspective?
No,
but then
It still needs a town meeting.
just trying to,
Nick won't let them go to bid until they've got this money in
Yeah, and
place.
they wouldn't be doing the bonding until they've got the response to the RFP. If the contract.
And even that,
And,
yeah.
but
they
I,
can start that process, so the bonding, the actual bonding part is not.
Could be 2 years.
You know,
but does the, but I mean, I'm just, listen, I think. It's a good conversation, but bonding $300,000, I don't think is a good use of bonding money. I think you want to bond something that's significant money.
I'm also a little worried about the time, I don't, I'm not. a
It's
bonding
really quick
expert,
and then
but
we're in.
no, the timing of the bond, so say we did bring a bonding article, one would need 2/3 vote at town meeting, as we know. But also, say, Joanna. Town treasurer, sorry, Joanna, can't float that bond until. Typically, she's told me they do fall bonds, say September of 2027.
Right.
Construction in completion,
Oh,
this
yeah.
project is gonna be by August 2027. So we're floating a bond,
after.
that's okay, is after the
No.
project's done and paid for?
Well, I mean,
Is that- I don't get,
no, it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't say, it doesn't work, if that's the idea. I mean, if they have enough money, that they don't need our 300,000, then why would we be buying?
right, exactly,
So, yeah.
yeah, so I'm a little.
It's just the timing of this, right? Like, I think it's also. Let's review those 19 applications, right? We're basically just putting one application. I'm not saying, I absolutely think it's a great application. We're basically saying. This one application rises to the top over everyone else and no one else gets considered, which I don't think is very fair in this process. Because in the eligibility process, we're saying, hey, let's review these other applications. Those applicants haven't even been before us to go discuss it, to Robbie's point, And this is the way the process always happened. And now we're saying, hey, we're gonna commit automatically $300,000 to this project. So I think it's just a little bit about process. And to your point, we could just say, hey, listen, you're gonna fund you $300,000, and then we look at the other applicants and see if we bond them, or we just say no, or whatever. But we have a huge issue in front of us, because we're making major decisions here really early on that we've never had done before, right? So in one breath, we're saying, don't change our process, but then we're changing our process. So I had issues with it.
But there's a compelling reason for this, I think. I think there's a
So-
real compelling reason to do
And
it.
I just said, I don't think politically we wanna be the committee.
Right.
So we use-
And even that, when I broke out trying to evenly put the different ones, but in reality, we've got $800,000 of undesignated. So we can do that, we can shift it, we don't have to take it just out of what,
So.
the open space, so we could do that.
So sorry, where is that 800,000 coming from?
We have undesignated funds.
From previous years?
No,
No.
At the top of this, we've got our income, and our total income is 1186.
Okay.
Or like, listen,
And-
I agree with you too.
Let me explain.
Okay.
And we have to put 10% of that to each of the three categories.
Okay,
That's the 118,655.
okay.
And the rest of it is undesignated, other than what we put aside for administrative expenses. The other is undesignated, and that can go to any of those
So
categories.
by law, we have to do 10%.
10%
Yeah,
to each category.
And it's up to us to the.
The rest is up,
Okay.
so that does give us flexibility,
Okay.
and
And
So-
historically, towns have spent most of that undesignated money on police.
Which is.
Yeah.
Which is-
part.
yeah.
We've had
We've
some
tried to
history
balance
of
it.
trying to roughly split it a third to third to third. It hasn't always worked out that way, and historic preservation has gotten less than 33% of the money. open space has gotten more, housing right around that figure, so it's, you know, we've tried to be relatively, approach each leg of the stool with a, you know, trying to, equalize, the funding.
You just go with the three-legged stool?
No, well, no.
No?
It's been that way for
But yeah, CPC,
25
yeah,
years.
I've been on the statewide committee and we use that phrase,
Pause.
a couple of times. So I would look for a motion, to, bring an article supporting the Tucker PTO application before before a fall town meeting. And the amounts I would leave to the wisdom of this committee of whether we fund the full request at 300,000. You know, whether we want to, their fundraising has been good, so whether we want to create some extra space and do 250 or something, you know, you know, if that would be more comfortable for the committee, I don't know.
Can I add something?
Yep.
I would be interested to know what we funded other elementary schools in
That
this
was a lot
town.
less.
A lot,
Their
their applications were a lot.
Their applications were a lot less. Their
Like how much? I'm just curious.
150,000.
150,000.
You know, I mean, I guess I can get it right here.
But to Catherine's point, if we said,
Yeah.
if someone here made a motion tonight for all.
I'm going to.
300,000, I would as well. There's nothing that says that we can't, question mark, there's nothing that says we can't adjust that before town meeting. If let's say their fundraising goes crazy right now and they are able to secure more money from the grants. So I know they put out for a lot.
The only, I think you're right, the only, question mark, but the only, funkiness to that is this has to go into a warrant article.
Third reading.
And then you could, you know, it might be a green sheet
Okay.
change
Okay.
of that.
I guess what I'm getting, I hear what you're
You
saying,
can't go higher,
but you could go
but
lower,
you could go lower
Because-
by a motion at town meeting.
because they were,
Even though we wouldn't have a quorum at town meeting of this committee.
Well, you do the same thing that the planning board does every time, which is they schedule a meeting
right,
your
before.
time right before town meeting. And that the select board does the same thing, and vote at that meeting to make a motion to reduce the amount.
I guess what I'm getting at is maybe you guys have already done where I'm going. They went for, I think, $150,000 they were trying to get from the state and federal, or something like that, they had 250,000, which is fantastic. If they applied for all these other grants and they are successful with them. That would be a great situation for us to be in.
Maybe they won't need it.
So did they got a grant for what, 250?
After asking for
Yeah.
150.
They're asking for,
No, it doesn't, they
I'm
reported
just giving an
to,
example.
they reported to us that the state grant came in a little higher than they
And I know that their list of
led to believe.
applications was extensive,
Yeah.
they're doing great work.
Yep.
If they're in a great situation come October, we could revisit this before a meeting and say.
Yes.
or we could say as a committee tonight, and I would be comfortable with this, to say, just saying, put up, we'll commit $250,000. Like, will go out, put $250,000 in, and say, we commit that.
Can I make an amendment to your?
I didn't make a motion, I
Oh,
just
you
was,
said you were going.
You're going to, I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion to.
okay,
to-
make a motion.
For $300,000 for the application for well town meeting article.
Okay, second.
Second,
All right, there's a motion, there's a second discussion. Pete.
That was my motion.
That's a short discussion. Other discussion. Okay, let's vote on it. There's no more discussion, so there's a motion on the floor to recommend $300,000 for the Tucker School Playground. It's been seconded, and this would be part of constructing a warrant article for the fall town meeting. Jenny,
Yes.
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 Catherine,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
and Robbie,
Yes.
And Tom, yes. All right. So that's a recommendation. We will keep an eye on that and the same communication with the PTO and the town administrator. And if we need to meet before that town meeting, to
Track
adjust,
how the rest of their
to adjust that,
fundraising is going.
we could, so we'll follow that closely.
Could we ask for an update?
Yep,
My notes say the October town meeting is October 19th, which is one of our meetings, but we're also meeting on the 5th. So if we could have an update prior to the 5th, then
yes.
it might give us.
Yeah, they've been in, I have to say, just as chair, they have been in, they've been fantastic about communicating with me and updating, so I will express that to them, and ask for periodic updates even, so that we can get a sense of whether or not
When you communicate with them, you could say that the committee's money is really tight, there's a hard decision, and if your fundraising is more successful, we'd like the opportunity to reduce the amount.
Yep. All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. I need to do a roll call, Jenny.
Yes.
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 Elaine.
Yes.
Al. Yes. Steve.
Yes.
Wendy.
Yes.
Robbie.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you, everybody. It's a long meeting. I appreciate it. And
So October 5th.
our next meeting right now, as of it stands now, is October 5th. Yeah, good point. And stay tuned.